You've been lied to. Everyone says better bikes, lighter wheels, and aero gear will make you faster. But what if I told you the biggest upgrade isn't on your bike, it's inside your body? It's your VO2 Max, and it's the #1 reason why pros drop you on climbs, not the price tag on their gear. Chris Froome, VO2 Max of 85. Greg LeMond, 92.5. The average cyclist barely hits 40. Here's the twist. You can skyrocket your VO2 Max by up to 30% without spending a single dollar. But almost everyone is training it wrong. We've seen cyclists over 40 grind for years with zero gains. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix that, including the 3 deadly mistakes killing your VO2 Max gains, a proven training method that works better as you age, and the exact workouts that turned our busy clients from getting dropped on every hill to dropping riders 20 years younger. If you're over 40 and still want to ride stronger than ever, this is for you. Let's get into it. Your VO2 Max is the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use during intense exercise. Think of it as the size of your engine. The bigger it is, the more power you can produce. It's measured in milliliters of oxygen per kilogram of body weight per minute, and it's the single best predictor of endurance performance. The average untrained male has a VO2 Max around 35 to 40. The average untrained female is around 27 to 30. But elite cyclists, they're operating in a completely different universe, with numbers between 70 to 90. That massive difference explains why they can seemingly defy physics on climbs, while the rest of us suffer. Now, you might be thinking, but isn't VO2 Max mostly genetic? Can I really improve mine significantly? This is where most cyclists get it wrong. While genetics do play a role in your ultimate ceiling, research shows that proper training can improve your VO2 Max by 15 to 30%, regardless of your starting point. That's enough to completely transform your riding experience. The problem is that most training plans either ignore VO2 Max completely or include ineffective workouts that don't create the right stimulus. And this is especially true for cyclists over 40, who often get generic advice that doesn't account for how our bodies change with age. And by the way, if you want to improve your VO2 Max and ride stronger and longer without figuring it all out on your own, you can book a free strategy call with our coaching team using the first link below. We'll analyze your current fitness and create a personalized plan to boost your VO2 Max based on your specific needs and goals. Now let's get back to unlocking your VO2 Max potential. There are 3 critical mistakes most cyclists make when trying to improve their VO2 Max. Understanding these will save you months of wasted effort. The first mistake is training at the wrong intensity. Many cyclists think that any hard effort improves VO2 Max, but the research is clear. You need to be working at 90 to 95% of your maximum heart rate to create the right stimulus. That's much harder than most people realize. To put this in perspective, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is absolute maximum effort, you need to be at an 8 or 9, a level where talking becomes nearly impossible and you're counting down the seconds until you can stop. The second mistake is incorrect interval duration. Countless cyclists do intervals that are either too short or too long to maximize VO2 Max development. The sweet spot for most riders is between 3 to 5 minutes per interval, long enough to fully engage your cardiovascular system, but short enough to maintain the necessary intensity. But here's where it gets interesting. As we age, especially past 40, our bodies respond differently to training stress. The traditional 5-minute intervals that work well for younger riders often prove too demanding for masters athletes, leading to excessive fatigue and inadequate recovery. This brings us to the third critical mistake: insufficient recovery between intervals. Your body doesn't get stronger during the intervals themselves, it gets stronger during the recovery period. Yet most cyclists cut their recovery too short, eager to get back to the real work. This is particularly problematic for riders over 40, whose recovery capacity naturally diminishes with age. Without adequate recovery, you'll never reach the intensity needed to stimulate VO2 Max improvements in later intervals. So what's the solution? How do we train VO2 Max effectively, especially as we get older? The answer lies in a training approach that's been validated by both scientific research and real-world results with hundreds of my clients. I call it polarized micro-interval training, and it's specifically designed to maximize VO2 Max improvements while minimizing the recovery burden. Here's how it works. Instead of doing traditional 4 to 5 minute intervals at maximum sustainable intensity, you'll do shorter bursts of 30 to 40 seconds at an even higher intensity, followed by 15 to 30 seconds of active recovery. These micro intervals allow you to accumulate more total time at VO2 Max intensity than traditional intervals, but with less fatigue and faster recovery. It's like getting all the benefits of those longer intervals without the crushing fatigue that follows. Let me show you exactly how to implement this approach with 3 specific workouts that have transformed my clients' riding. The first workout is what I call the 30-30 builder. After a thorough 15-minute warm-up, you'll do 30 seconds at 120% of your FTP. That's about the highest power you can sustain for 5 minutes, followed by 30 seconds of very easy pedaling at about 50% of FTP. Repeat this pattern for 5 minutes, then take 5 minutes of easy spinning recovery. Do a total of 3 to 4 sets, depending on your fitness level. What makes this workout so effective is that the 30-second recovery periods aren't long enough for full recovery, so your heart rate stays elevated throughout the set, but they are long enough to clear just enough lactate to allow you you to hit the necessary intensity in the next interval. One of our clients, Daniel, who's 48 and has been cycling for years, was skeptical about this approach. He'd been doing traditional 5-minute intervals for years with minimal improvement, but after just 6 weeks of the 30-30 builder once per week, his 20-minute power increased by 7%, a gain he hadn't seen in the previous 2 years combined. The second workout is the 1-minute miracle. This one is perfect for busy cyclists because it's shorter but incredibly potent. After warming up, you'll do 6 to 10 intervals of exactly 1 minute at 110 to 120% of your FTP, with 1 minute of very easy recovery between each. The key here is maintaining consistent power across all intervals. If you see your power dropping by more than 5% in later intervals, you've either started too hard or need more recovery time. David, a 53-year-old client who could never keep up on group rides, added this workout to his routine once per week. Within 2 months, he was not only keeping up, but often leading the charge on climbs. His friends were convinced he had bought a new bike or started training twice as much, but the only change was this one workout per week. The third workout is what we call the 4-minute foundation. This is a more traditional approach, but with a twist specifically for older athletes. You'll do 4 to 5 intervals of 4 minutes at the highest power you can sustain for the duration, about 95 to 105% of FTP. But here's the crucial difference. Instead of the standard 2 to 3 minutes of recovery that most plans prescribe, you'll take a full 4 to 5 minutes between intervals. This extended recovery allows you to hit the necessary intensity in each interval without accumulating excessive fatigue. This workout is particularly effective for building the sustained power needed for longer climbs. Michael, a 56-year-old who struggled on the 10 to 15-minute climbs in his area, saw his climbing times drop by 15% after 8 weeks of including this workout in his training. Now, you might be wondering how to incorporate these workouts into your existing training plan. This is where many cyclists go wrong. They add these high-intensity sessions without adjusting the rest of their training, leading to burnout and overtraining. For most cyclists, especially those over 40, 1 to 2 VO2 Max sessions per week is the sweet spot. More than that typically leads to diminishing returns and increased injury risk. These sessions should be your priority workout, done when you're fresh and recovered. But there's a critical factor that most training plans ignore. As we age, our recovery needs change dramatically. What worked in your 30s won't work in your 40s and 50s. You need to be strategic about when you schedule these workouts and how you recover from them. I recommend doing your VO2 Max sessions after a rest day or very easy day, and following them with at least 24 to 48 hours of easy riding or complete rest. This ensures you're fresh enough to hit the necessary intensities and recover properly afterward. Another key consideration is progression. Don't jump straight into the most demanding version of these workouts. Start with fewer intervals and more recovery, then gradually increase the training load as your body adapts. For example, with the 30-30 builder, you might start with just 2 sets of 5 minutes, then progress to 3 sets, then 4 sets over the course of several weeks. This gradual progression is especially important for masters athletes whose bodies need more time to adapt to training stress. But what if you don't have a power meter or heart rate monitor? Can you still effectively train your VO2 max? Absolutely. While these tools are helpful, they're not essential. You can use perceived exertion instead. For the high-intensity portions of these workouts, you should be working at an effort level of 8 to 9 out of 10. Hard enough that talking becomes difficult or impossible, but not so hard that you can't complete the prescribed intervals. The beauty of these workouts is that they provide a clear signal when you're doing them correctly. They're challenging, but manageable. If you're finishing the workout thinking it was easy, you weren't going hard enough. If you're completely destroyed and need to cut the workout short, you went too hard too soon. Now, there's one more critical element to maximizing your VO2 max that almost everyone overlooks: strength training. Research shows that adding specific strength work can significantly enhance the benefits of your VO2 max training on the bike. A study in the journal Sports Medicine found that high-load strength training, heavier weights with lower repetition, improved running economy, which directly translates to cycling efficiency. This is because stronger muscles can generate the same power with less oxygen consumption. For cyclists, especially those over 40 who naturally lose muscle mass with age, 2 to 3 short strength sessions per week focusing on the major muscle groups used in cycling can make a tremendous difference in your VO2 max development. But there's a common objection I hear from cyclists: won't strength training make me bulky and slow me down? This is a myth. The type of strength training that benefits cyclists doesn't add significant muscle mass. Instead, it improves neuromuscular efficiency, your body's ability to recruit muscle fibers effectively. This translates directly to better power output on the bike without added weight. One client, Robert, who was 62 and had been cycling for decades, was highly skeptical of strength training. But after adding just 2 30-minute sessions per week focusing on squat, deadlift, and core work, his VO2 max increased by 12% in 3 months, something he hadn't achieved with cycling alone in in years. The final piece of the VO2 Max puzzle is consistency. These workouts are demanding, and it's tempting to skip them when you're tired or busy, but the magic happens when you commit to them consistently over time. Research shows that significant VO2 Max improvement typically require at least 6 to 8 weeks of consistent training. The good news is that once you've built up your VO2 Max, it takes less work to maintain it than it did to build it in the first place. This means you can reduce the frequency of these intense sessions during maintenance phases of your training, focusing on them primarily during the 8 to 12 weeks leading up to your key events or challenges. Let me share a real-world example that brings all these principles together. James was a 49-year-old cyclist who had been riding for years, but always struggled on the climbs during his group ride. Despite being strong on the flat, he would inevitably get dropped when the road tilted up. After testing his VO2 Max and analyzing his training, we discovered that he had been doing plenty of endurance riding, but almost no structured high-intensity work. His VO2 Max was significantly lower than it should have been for his experience level. We implemented a 10-week plan focusing on the 3 workouts I've shared today, along with 2 short strength sessions per week. The results were remarkable. His VO2 Max increased from 48 to 58 kilometers per kilos per minute, a 20% improvement that transformed his riding experience. Suddenly, the climbs that used to be his weakness became opportunities to shine. He went from being dropped to dropping others, all without increasing his total training time. In fact, he was spending about an hour less per week on the bike than before. This is the power of targeted VO2 Max training. It delivers maximum results with minimum time investment, making it perfect for busy cyclists with limited training time. But there's one important caveat. These workouts are demanding, both physically and mentally. They require a level of discomfort that many cyclists aren't used to. The difference between those who see dramatic improvement and those who don't often comes down to their willingness to push through this discomfort. This doesn't mean you should push yourself to the point of injury or excessive fatigue, but it does mean embracing the productive discomfort that comes with high-intensity training. As one of our coaches likes to say, get comfortable being uncomfortable. The good news is that this mental toughness is trainable, just like your VO2 Max. Each time you complete one of these challenging workouts, you're not just building physical capacity, but also mental resilience that carries over to every aspect of your cycling.